Hello and welcome back. Uh, this is going to be the second video using Google Sheets. And in this video, we're going to start to look at student data. Now, as a disclaimer, in the school district or school that you will work in someday, they are going to have clear policies for how and where you can analyze student data. So some of the things that we're going to do here in Google Sheets, you may or may not be able to do in your district, but you could also, if it's something that you're not allowed to put in Google, you could certainly do this in Microsoft Excel. So getting started, once again, I'm going to create a new folder to organize my data. And so I'm going to call this student data. Now we have that folder. Enter that folder, and we're going to create a sheet. Let's imagine that this is going to be maybe a math data. Math student data. Okay. And then just like last time, we're going to want to name our column. So let's say name, and we'll call this math quiz 1. Okay. And I'm going to start out with student 1. So this is, in this field, you might have the student's name, or maybe you'd have some sort of coded number to represent each student if you wanted to protect their privacy. Although Google is secure, once again, you're going to have to consult with the school's policy for student data. Now, in our last video, we used the fill command. We're going to use that again. So I didn't make that too explicit, but the fill command works by clicking on one or two boxes, or it could be even more than that. But if I click on this little blue box right here and I pull this down, that's automatically going to continue the pattern. So let's pretend we had 20 students, and I can do the same for the quizzes. So let's have 5 quizzes. Let's see. So 5 different quizzes. To make my top row stand out, I'm going to bold that. Okay. And then these bold lines right here, this is something that can be handy as the spreadsheet gets both wider and longer. If I drag this over here, this will always keep the students' names at the left, and if I drag this top one, this will always keep the top field, that line 1. Okay, now let's pretend that all of our quizzes are out of 10, and let's put, we're going to put some fictitious data here. So 10, 10. Let's pretend the first quiz, everybody got a perfect score. So if I start that blue box on 2, and they both have 10 in them, and I drag that down, it'll fill with the same score. And now I'm just going to kind of put some random numbers in here, single digits. And the reason I want to have all this data is because I do want to calculate some averages here. Okay, now that we have data for all the students, I might want to say this last column could be math, quiz, average. And then what we can do is, like in the last video, we'll use a formula. And this time we're going to want to, we're going to use average up here. So I'm going to click on average. And that automatically gave us the equal sign. Average is going to sum all of the values that we put in there and divide by the number of values that we have. And so the last thing I have to put in are just the where the data is coming from. So this average is going to be math quiz average, and we're going to take it from columns B through F. Okay, So this first student one, we can see their average is 8 of a score. Now, just like we used the fill command before, we can use the fill command with a formula. We can apply this to the rest of the rows. Okay, so now we have averages for each of our students. Now, let's say we wanted to figure out who were the students that were struggling the most. If I select this top line, I can create a filter. Okay, so I'm going to click Create Filter, and you'll notice that at the top of each of the columns, they've given us this little triangle symbol, and that allows us to sort by that column. So if I want to sort, I can sort A to Z, so it's going to be low to high. I can see who my most struggling students are. So we could see that student 9, 19, 10, 8, 12, 11, and let's say our threshold was 6. So maybe we wanted to target these children for an intervention so we can quickly see who's struggling. Now, not only can we sort by this column, but maybe there was a particular quiz that the children really struggled with. So maybe it was math quiz number 3. And here we can sort, and we can see that there are quite a few 1s. So we might target those children for some intervention. And that concludes looking at student data.